Hello, and thanks for joining me for this quick conversation to celebrate Global Accessibility Day. I'm joined today by a good friend, Haleema. In fact, Haleema, could you introduce yourself very quickly?
Hi guys, I'm Haleema Mayat and I work in Derby in a medium-sized school called Petrie Community Junior School. Um, we're about the top 2% in the country for disadvantaged children, and we have a very high proportion of EAL students.
So every time I speak to Haleema, I'm always left with so many things to go and think about and ideas to implement. So I'm really looking forward to this conversation because Haleema is someone that always has great ideas. So no pressure, but we're expecting a lot from you in this little chat. So we're talking today about a accessibility feature in Safari called Reader Mode. Would you like to just briefly explain kind of what Reader Mode is and how it changes the iPad experience in Safari?
So with reader mode, it kind of strips back all of the, uh, I say faff, or all of the noise in the background so that the children can just focus on the text. And that also helps when you're on the internet. There can be lots of ads and pop-ups, and it means that you can access all of that script that's on the internet in a streamlined way, and then you can use that file. You can download it as a file and then use that for other purposes, which is great when you're an EAL learner, just to focus and home in on one piece of text.
I think yeah, when it gets rid of like the adverts and the different hyperlinks and stuff, because web pages are so cluttered nowadays, it really does help focus the learner in, doesn't it, on the content they're looking for, whether it's research or whatever it is they're doing.
Yeah, you have to be really mindful sometimes when, as an adult, when you go on a page, how easy is it to become distracted? So if you go on a page and you're distracted, what do you think that will do for a mind of an 8-year-old? So if you think with that logic, it makes complete sense to use a Safari Reader for children.
Absolutely. And quite often, if we're using it in school, we might be using it on a news article or something, and you never know what other links are going to be on the page. And sometimes you get things which are not suitable for students at the age that we teach. So it kind of removes all of that worry as well when you enable that mode. In fact, let's have a quick look now at how people watching this can use Reader Mode on their iPads, and then we'll come back and rejoin this conversation. When you're on a website and you're browsing whatever article or blog post you found, quite often you'll find there's lots of adverts or other links around the page. This can be distracting and it really clutters up what you're looking at. Well, in the address bar, if Reader Mode is available, you can tap on the two A's icon there, and then you can choose Show Reader. This will immediately transform the page into a written post with the main images and the body of the text in a really clean and easy to read way. There are no adverts to distract us anymore, no links to other pages, everything you want is there to see. And at the top, if I press that double A button again, I can change the background colour and the font to make it easier to read. There's even the option here to speak the page, and the iPad will read it out loud to you. Simply tap the double A's again, and then pause reading when you want to stop. But one other cool thing you can do in Reader Mode is to take a full page screenshot of all of that content. Simply take a screenshot as normal, and at the top of the screen tap on Full Page. This will then create one long PDF document of everything that you can see in Reader Mode. Of course, you can use the markup tools if you want to annotate and highlight what you found, which is great for students doing research. And then when you're done, you can simply save that either as a photo to your Photos app, or more usefully, in my opinion, as a PDF to the Files app. From there, you can then highlight the text, you can read it aloud again, and you've got all the options available to you, just like you would do any other PDF. Okay, so as you can see, Reader Mode is literally just two taps in Safari. You've got the option to read the page out loud and change the style as well. And it does completely reduce that visual clutter. So, Haleema, could you explain to us, if you're a teacher watching this, how might you go about introducing it to your students, do you think?
With the children, because it's dead simple and it's got the two A's at the top, they learn very quickly to use it to take away the advert. So you can just click on the A. I find it's more beneficial when the children use it in class, but also when you're a teacher and you're planning in that mode, you can then turn it into a PDF text, take that text into a different format. Say, we upload all of our files to Shobi, which then we can then transform those pieces of text into a nice little quiz. And actually they get to know the text in a different format. And that's what's lovely as a teacher, being able to adapt a text, really get to home in on all the details in a text, but just in a different format that's a bit more fun, a bit more engaging. So that's how we use it at our school. But obviously, when you strip down the text, it also then gives you the accessibility feature of being able to speak and highlighting those texts, which as an EAL reader, you need to listen to a piece of text again and again and again to internalize. So it's really, really beneficial.
I really like the way you kind of take it that one step further than just using it in Safari. You actually then take the text and use it elsewhere. Have you seen kind of any impact on your students in terms of maybe their focus and concentration when they're doing research online or anything else? How do your students get on with this, basically?
It's helped so much just because I know I've taught them how to get rid of all the noise in the background so that they can just focus on the task in hand with the information that you've given them. And also, from a safeguarding point of view, it also allows them to keep safe online. And when they're at home, I'd like to think they were using that tool to keep themselves safe online, because obviously in school we have the filters. Out of school, not so sure if we have all the filters that you would want there. So if we're teaching them from a young age to streamline everything they see online, that's win-win from both sides, I think.
Absolutely. I really like in the reader mode the way you can change the actual text style and the colours as well. You can almost make it into like a Kindle-esque experience, can't you? Where you've just got the text and you can make it a pale background or a dark and white text. There are lots of options in there for fine-tuning it, and my students really like to do that to make the reading a little bit easier. So I think that's something for people to explore as well. You mentioned briefly about having it read aloud. Do your students use that feature very often, or is that something that they tend to do in other apps?
The read aloud is something we use all day, every day.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, just because sometimes our children can't pronounce the words that are on the screen and it will be confusing. They don't recognize the word. So then speaker mode actually really helps an EEL learner to go, oh, that's what it should say. So then they're like, oh, okay, let me just go and have a look at the dictionary. And that's a double-edged sword. So it's lovely to be able to access speaker mode as an EEL learner with confidence, because I think they sometimes get really nervous to ask for help on something they think, well, actually, I should know this. However, what the iPad does is it allows them to confirm, oh, it's okay, I don't know this. However, the iPad will help me. I don't need the teacher, but I can double check these words myself. So we find it really useful for the children to go over, say we've done a text in shared reading, they will listen to the story again, even though they've had it read already once to from the teacher. They just have the confidence and the independence to go, okay, do you know what? I need to internalize that for a second time to be able to answer all the questions that are on the sheet. And it makes it a lot less scary. I think when you're 10 years old, if I was in a classroom now, I'd be really scared by some of the text that we get in the classroom, because it has gone up a notch.
Yeah.
The levels have gone up a notch, and we forget that sometimes, and we forget we're teaching 8, 9, 10-year-olds. So to have these tools at your fingertips is so empowering. It's so empowering for these kids.
That's the word that came to mind when you were sharing that story about your EAL learners not necessarily wanting to put their hand up and confirm with you, because they almost felt like they should know and it was almost awkward for them to ask. It empowers them to do that independently and give them the confidence to actually continue their learning about feeling like they're doing the wrong thing or being shy in that classroom situation. And that's what a valuable tool to have. And
absolutely,
in all the conversations that I've been fortunate enough to be doing recently, the empowering of students is a theme that comes back for everyone. All these accessibility features, they're all there and they're all supporting and empowering the learners. And that's just a wonderful, wonderful thing. So my last question for you, if someone's watching this and they perhaps haven't used reader mode either themselves or in their classroom before, what advice would you give that person to encourage them to give it a try?
As a teacher, personally, I'd just have a go at trying it in the planning process. Use it as, right, I'm going to streamline this text. I know exactly what document I want to give my children in the classroom, and let's go try it out. And just have a go. Sometimes we are so scared as practitioners to have a go at things that seem so scary. But what is the worst that is going to happen? It either enriches every single child's lives in that classroom, or we get it wrong. But that's absolutely okay. We try again. Like, that's what we teach the children. Try again until we crack it. And when we nail it, it can be fabulous. And if it doesn't work for you, then that's fine. You've just learned a new skill that you can teach others that might be really useful to them.
And that's it. That's, Haleema, why I wanted this conversation with you, because your wisdom and your knowledge is fabulous. And I think you've inspired a lot of people there to give this a try and use it in their class. So thank you so much for your time and for sharing your knowledge to us.
Thank you.